But today I want to share with you something very important. I thought it was very important to go over, which is African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA, African Continental Free Trade Area. So African Continental Free Trade Area, I will tell you why I choose this topic, is a, you can possibly say, a system or a framework that was established in 2012. So it's around 12 years ago, maybe around 12 years ago. So that's when they established that. So what is African Continental Free Trade Area? It's one of the flagship project of Agenda 2063 of African Development Bank framework. The African Continental Free Trade Area was approved by the 18th Extraordinary Section of Assembly of Head of States and the Government Head in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia in January 2012, which adopted the decision to establish an African Continental Free Trade Area and the action or plan to boosting inter-African trade and a key initiative whose implementation would promote social economic growth development. The African Continental Free Trade Area aims to accelerate inter-African trade and boosting African trade position in the global market by strengthening African common voice and policy space in global trade negotiations. The objectives of the African Continental Free Trade Area are to create a single market for goods, service, and facilitating movements of people in order to deepen the economy integration of the African continent and accordance with the Pan-African vision of the integration, prosperous and peaceful Africa. A trend in Agenda 2063. So creating that's another point here, creating a realizable market for goods and service through successful rounds of negotiation contribute to the movements of capital and natural resources and facilitating investment building on the initiative and development being undertaken by the State Party of RECS. Laid the foundation of establishment of Continental Custom Union and a later stage, promote and attain sustainable and inclusive socio-economic development, gender equality, and the structural transformation of the state parties, enhance competitiveness of the economic of state party with the continent and the global market. So pretty much this African Continental Free Trade Area is part of the Agenda 2063, which I think I mentioned about it. But if you didn't catch that, I would have to go over that again one time. So why am I bringing this to you? Why is this important? The agenda or the idea of African Continental Free Trade Area is absolutely to fool people that the African Union can do something bigger. Why? Because African Union is not capable. African nation, so-called nations, because we don't have a nation in Africa. It's just partitioned places by Europeans sitting in Europe, and then now we call them countries. So they cannot establish one common market. They cannot. Why is that? Because one, they don't have a common language. You cannot do business or trade with people unless there is a language. That's number one. Number two, there is no peace all over Africa now. Libya is seized. Congo DRC is not at peace. Sudan is completely destroyed. Ethiopia is not at peace. South Sudan is dismantled since when it became independent, so-called independence. Until today, there is no peace there. The Sahel countries, as you already know, almost all of them, they are not at peace. Nigeria is not at peace. Chad is not at peace. Cameroon is not at peace. So there is no way you can implement any trade that big in those countries, in Africa in general, because there is no way, it's impossible. But they want us to trust or to believe that they're going to be able to bring something. They cannot. That's number one. That's number two. Number three, it's the selfish of state members. Each state members will not allow people to move around freely because they are doing business in visas and passports and taking resources, products from people and then possibly taxing them. So each country is hustling to try to get money. So that is obviously not going to work. So what should we do then about African Continental Free Trade Area? I think we don't have to do anything. It's just going to die off as it is. The only thing we need to do is to not trust in that kind of plan because it's not applicable. Again, this is what they are trying to fight for, what they call integration, which I mentioned before, but I can even mention again or tell you again. People who talk about African integrations are those who fear the unity. We don't need integration in Africa at all. Botswanians, they don't need to be integrated with Congolese or Gambians or Ghanaians. We don't need that. We need unity. And people who are talking about integrations, they're just trying to get away with the unity. And they try to come to use something that is the last as the first. The first one is unity. Integration will fall in parts by itself. You will not have to put any effort in integration if once we are united. So that being said, I think I need to end here. That was my takeout when it comes to African Continental Free Trade Area, which was launched in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, 6 years ago in Ghana. That's when it was put to work. I think also there was some other agreement took place in Kigali, Rwanda. I'm not sure exactly when, but the headquarters, if I'm not mistaken, it must have been in Ghana. But since then until today, there's pretty much nothing. It's just they always talk anyways. African Union is good for talking and delivering nothing. So the idea of peace has failed completely in Africa. The idea of exploitation is completely continuing. New colonization is continuing. So there is no need for anyone in the right mind to focus on these things called African Continental Free Trade Area or anything comes from African Union. Again, my name is Imani Hani Power. I'm Black Global Nationalist. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have any comment, please leave that in the comment section. And I think also my email must be down there. You can email me personally. Thank you for watching. Have a nice week. May Mungu ibariki Africa. God bless Africa. Africa hakuna matata.